When my sister came back early from boarding school, she didn't leave her room for 3 weeks. Last night, I unlocked her door and finally found out why. A month ago, my older sister Raven came home early from boarding school about halfway through her first semester. She was wearing a white nightgown and her jet black hair was hanging over her face. I thought that was weird, but I figured maybe she'd been sleeping in the car. I ran downstairs to say hi, but my mom stopped me in the hallway. Raven's going through a really hard breakup. She needs space right now, so leave her alone. Then Raven walked past us and went straight upstairs. I heard her bedroom door lock, and that was it. For the next few days, I barely saw her. She stayed locked in her room. My mom would bring her food and leave it outside her door. I kept asking when I could talk to her, and every time my parents would give me the same answer. She needs time. Just leave her alone. The only time I saw Raven was late at night when she walked to the bathroom. I'd crack my door open while she walked by my room to go there, and every time, she was wearing the same white nightgown that I'd seen her in when she came home. Her hair was still covering her face. She moved slowly, like she was a zombie. One night, I whispered her name, careful not to wake my parents up. Raven? For a second, she stopped walking. Then she kept going like I hadn't said anything. We used to be best friends. She used to talk to me about everything, and now she was completely ignoring me. I went to my parents the next morning and told them something was seriously wrong with Raven. My mom just sighed. I know this is hard for you, but your sister needs us to give her space right now. That's how we help her. But things kept getting worse after that. My mom started sleeping in the hallway outside Raven's door. She tried to lie and say it was because the bed hurt her back, but I knew that wasn't true. One night, I pushed my ear against Raven's bedroom door and heard her crying. It wasn't loud. It was this quiet, broken sound, like she was trying to keep it in. That's when I was ready to finally walk in. I was going to ask if she wanted to play Minecraft together like we always did when she was sad. But just when I realized the door was locked, my dad appeared out of nowhere. He said, "Go back to sleep, she's fine." But I was done listening to him. I'd lost my best friend and no one was telling me why. And I knew exactly how to find out what was going on, because the next day my parents had to leave for a few hours to do something for my grandma. When the time came for them to leave the house, they gave me just one instruction: don't bother Raven. But the second their car pulled out of the driveway, I sprinted straight upstairs. I stood outside her door and knocked softly. Knock, knock, knock. No answer. I pushed my ear up to the door and could hear Raven breathing. Here goes nothing, I whispered to myself. I grabbed a bobby pin from my room and picked her bedroom lock. It took me a few tries, but eventually I heard the door unlock. The smell hit me first. It smelled like rotten eggs and something else I couldn't place. The curtains were taped shut with blinds that stopped all light from getting through. I waited for my eyes to adjust, and then I saw her. Raven was sitting in the corner with her knees pulled to her chest. Her white nightgown was stained and wrinkled. Her hair was covering her whole face. She wasn't moving, and underneath her hair, I could see her smiling. But it wasn't the same smile from the Raven I knew, the one that could light up a room. No, this was different. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever seen. Hey, I stammered, trying to walk closer to her. Hi, she responded, and somehow her smile widened even more. But somehow none of that was even the craziest part, because that's when I started to look around her room. There were hundreds of printed screenshots taped everywhere. All of the messages that she'd received from people in her boarding school, they were horrible. People calling her disgusting, telling her to disappear, saying they sent the photos they'd taken of her in the bathroom when she thought she was safe to everyone. I turned back to Raven, and she was looking at me now. Suddenly, she began to rock back and forth, even making the floorboards creak. Her voice came out quiet and cracked. They're still sending them, every day. I can't make it stop. I heard my parents come home and immediately ran out of her room. I haven't been inside since.
I sued my neighbor for parking damage, and he had to sell his car to pay it. My neighbor Terry had been parking across the bottom of my driveway for 2 years. Not occasionally. Routinely and consistently, and with a confidence that suggested he had decided it was perfectly acceptable. He did it because the parking on his side of the street was genuinely limited, and my driveway happened to be directly opposite, and he had quietly concluded that blocking me in occasionally was a minor inconvenience I should absorb as part of living on a residential street. I had asked him to stop 11 times. I know it was 11 because I kept a written log with dates. He always agreed in the moment, sometimes apologetically, and then did it again within the week. The morning that changed everything was a Tuesday in March. Terry had parked across my drive at some point overnight, and I came out at 7:15 with my laptop bag and everything. I needed to go to a work meeting I could not afford to miss. My car was completely trapped. I called him. He did not answer. I called him 4 more times across the next 20 minutes. He did not answer any of them. I missed the meeting. The meeting was with a client I had been cultivating for 8 months. The client was not impressed by the cancellation. I lost the contract. I sat down that same evening, and I calculated carefully what that contract had been worth to me. 14,000 pounds over 12 months. I am self-employed, and that figure represented a very significant portion of my projected income for the year. I kept every email, every proposal, every piece of correspondence that established the value of that contract and its direct connection to the meeting I had missed because of Terry's car. I did not shout at Terry when I got back that evening. I did not put a note on his windscreen. I did not knock on his door and say the things I was thinking. I booked an appointment with a solicitor for the following week. The solicitor listened to all of it and told me that establishing direct causation between a blocked driveway and a lost commercial contract was possible, but would require careful and thorough documentation. I had the documentation. I had the phone records clearly showing I had tried to reach him 5 times in the space of 20 minutes. I had the email chain between myself and the client, showing the last-minute cancellation and the client's subsequent decision to take their business elsewhere. I had the written log of 11 prior incidents with dates and brief notes on each one. I filed in the county court. Terry received the papers and called me the same day. He said I was completely out of my mind and that no judge would entertain this. I told him I would see him in court, and I ended the call. He hired a solicitor. His solicitor wrote a letter to mine suggesting the claim was excessive, vexatious, and entirely speculative. My solicitor wrote back the same week with the full documentation package attached. The response from his side went quiet after that. They offered 4,000 pounds to settle. I declined without hesitation and without a counteroffer. The judge found in my favor. The award was 11,200 pounds, including court costs. Terry did not have 11,000 pounds readily available, as it turned out. He paid in 2 separate installments over a period of 6 months, both of which arrived within the windows specified by the court. His solicitor wrote to me toward the end to explain that in order to meet the second installment, Terry had needed to sell his vehicle. I read that letter twice. Then I put it in the same folder as the log of 11 incidents and the missed meeting emails and the lost lost contract correspondence, and I closed the folder. Terry parks on his own side of the street now without exception. I see his car there every morning when I leave the house. I do not know how he gets to work these days. I have not asked and I do not intend to. Subscribe for more stories.
My husband making me feel crazy was the best thing that ever happened. I was lying in bed last week crying my eyes out when my husband came in. I thought he was going to hand me a heating pad for my period, or at least offer me some aspirin. Instead, he just sighed. Let me guess, you're not cooking dinner today because you're on your period? I looked up at him while clutching my stomach that felt like it was being stabbed. I can't cook tonight, I'm in too much pain. He leaned against the doorframe and sighed. I'm gonna be honest, I just don't think cramps are a good enough excuse to skip cooking 3 whole days out of every month. That's like 36 days a year. Something in me went cold. I sat up slowly, even though it hurt. Okay, fine, but let's make a deal. He raised an eyebrow. I smiled. If I can prove to you that this pain is real, you take over dinner for a full year. My husband laughed again. Sure, yeah, prove that cramps are that bad and I'll cook every night. He said it like I'd just bet him the sky was green, like there was no possible way he could lose. I smiled and reached my hand out for him to shake it. Deal. Here's the thing. A few weeks earlier, I'd seen this video online of men trying a period cramp simulator. Electrodes on the stomach. Electrical pulses that mimic contractions. Most of them couldn't make it past level 5. The video had millions of views, and I remember thinking I wished my husband could try it. Now I had a reason to make that happen. I found a women's health clinic 20 minutes away that offered the simulator as part of their education program. I called the next morning and booked an appointment for that weekend. I told my husband we were going to a health expo. He didn't ask questions. He probably thought it was a farmer's market or something. The whole drive there, he was joking around. I'm craving tacos for dinner. Can we stop somewhere after this snooze fest? I stayed quiet. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. I didn't want to give anything away. A nurse named Patrice led us to a small room. She explained how it worked. Electrodes on the abdomen, 10 levels of intensity. You can stop whenever you want, she said, looking at my husband. There's no shame in tapping out. My husband sat down in the chair like he was about to prove something. Let's see what all the fuss is about. Patrice placed the electrodes on his stomach. He was still smiling, still so sure of himself. Level 1. He didn't react. That's it? That's like a phone vibrating. Level 2. Still nothing. He looked at me and shrugged. Level 3. His smile started to fade. He shifted in the chair. Level 4. He stopped talking. His jaw tightened. Level 5. He gripped the armrests. His knuckles went white. Patrice said, "This is a mild cramp day. Most women push through this at work without telling anyone." My husband looked at her like she was lying. Level 6. He groaned. His whole body tensed. Sweat started forming on his forehead. I watched his face twist in a way I'd never seen before. Level 7. He bent forward. He was breathing hard. How long does this last? Patrice told him some months. It lasts 4 or 5 days. His eyes went wide with disbelief. Level 8. My husband screamed. Actually screamed. His hands flew to his stomach and he looked at me with panic in his eyes. Turn it off, please. I can't. Patrice didn't turn it off yet. This is what your wife feels when she's lying in bed asking you for help. Level 9. He slid off the chair onto his knees. Tears streamed down his face. His whole body was shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please stop, please. Patrice turned it off. My husband stayed on the floor, gasping, trembling. He couldn't even look at me at first. When he finally did, his face was red and wet and broken. You feel this every month? I nodded. And I told you to cook through it? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He broke down again, right there on the clinic floor, sobbing, saying he was sorry over and over. It took him 10 minutes to stand up. Update. It's been a year since then. And even though things are better now, part of me will always resent him for what he said to me.